look in the eyes of my brother without shedding a tear for my brother. I really wanna try for my brother.
Yo! What up? Welcome back. What's going on? You are now tuned in to it now. Welcome back to yet another episode. Another version, another iteration of the InforMILLy Honest podcast. We want to thank y'all for joining us again. Man, oh man, I can never say how much I look forward to doing this every week. I was talking to a homie the other day.
That's right.
Like spiritual big brother of mine, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, how's the podcast going?" I was like, "Man, it's going good. We got thousands of listeners. We going viral every day."
Yo, it put some money in our pockets. You know?
he was like, "Yeah, man, what y'all like episode 3 or 4?" And I was like, "Nah, man, we in the high teens. We damn near legal in this." and he's like, "Wait a minute, like didn't y'all just start?" And I was like, "Man, we built consistency."
You probably heard of us by now.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
It's actually really crazy to think that we technically been doing this shit. I mean, since like November. It's wild to think about how time flies, yo. You know, you do not get to where we are overnight. All right, you do not.
It was. I remember when we let the first episode out, and we I had to point out to people because we let out some like promo a little prematurely. Didn't know that the audio was going to get fucked up, and we were like, "Yeah, actually, we've been working on this shit for like 6 months." And since then, with our own creative genius, respectively, and Adam's production, we've been flowing, and so it's been great. Shout out to Brother Johnson. He couldn't join us today. He's out in some other part of the U.S. that y'all don't need to be worried about. Handling his life, handling his grownness. He had to do some grown man shit that
had to run some errands
in another state.
Straight some dollar bills.
So shout out to him. We love him, we miss him, and he'll be back. Don't you worry. He's very sad to miss out, but sometimes life happens.
Yeah, so, man. Safe travels to the homie.
Yeah, we're gonna jump right into it. I know we normally have our check-in, but y'all look healthy and gorgeous as always. So we're just gonna keep on
well hydrated.
Well hydrated. And so I want to pose this first question to you. How do y'all feel about ASMR? Judging by the furrow of Marcus's brow, I think he may have some negative feelings towards this. Go for it, Marcus. You pose this question. So.
Yeah, I just think it's so corny, man. I mean, I guess it's a pocket for people to, I guess it puts them to sleep or whatever, but I was introduced to it. I mean, I heard of it before, but I watched a few videos because my nieces are just into that section of YouTube. Very, very diverse world of YouTube, man. But I saw a few videos. It's just basically, if I'm not mistaken, like just like cute people making weird noises
quietly into a microphone,
right?
Attractive people abusing their power. Cute people abusing.
So I have, not that I care for ASMR at all. I'm very indifferent toward it.
Right, yeah.
But I think I get what the appeal of it is, and I think that is a thing of people have different bases of like satisfaction.
Yeah.
So like an example of that, I have this, I say weird thing because it's weird to me. A good portion of my Instagram, we think you'll like this shit, is people either preparing or cooking meat. I don't know why, but it's so satisfying to watch. I don't even eat most of that shit. But seeing someone like slice up the side of an octopus and then prepare it in a certain way, or a lot of it is beef. Yeah, like a lot of it is beef, and I don't need beef, but it's something about the care that they put into beef when they prepare and cook it, or people building their own barbecues or different cooking styles and shit like that. And it's satisfying. I can literally watch that shit for like a while, and because it's a satisfying sensation for me. And I think when people listen to ASMR, that's what they get.
That's true though, because there's some things I watch, like the hydraulic press, like crush stuff, and it's like satisfying videos, stuff like that. I could watch stuff like that. So I guess it is a thing of just like this really satisfies me in a way. But I guess I didn't find the right one yet.
Because it's so many kind of versions out there where, you know, I do think that there probably is that same bullshit that goes into most media where people who are real mediocre in the face did it and then more typically, or how should I say, more conventionally attractive got into it. In that same way that, like, I know that there's plenty of women who were gamers their whole life.
Oh, yeah.
And then there were plenty of women who were already attractive and also like video games. But then there was a group of women or a group of people who were like, you know what? I like doing internet shit, and Twitch is now a thing, and I can make bank being attractive and playing a video game. That does not mean they didn't like it before, but they were like, you know, I am attractive, so they're probably gonna watch me play Call of Duty.
And they just so happen to like get the itch to like jump on the sticks right after they get out of the pool in the bikini, like while they're still wet and everything. It's like, now is when I'm inspired to play the game.
And the thing is that's how you work your market. That's how you work your market. But I'm like, there's that thing where people who are conventionally attractive will usually take something that has become famous and figure out how to get themselves into that.
Yeah, I just want to say really quick that, like, I love that mediocre in the face is a wonderful way to say homely. Or I love that.
I mean, because here's
the thing, homely is funny too.
Yeah, no, I know.
Am I the only person who never heard that term until Double Dragon, the movie?
Man, that's been.
I heard a few people say it.
Yeah,
like that's a very old movie. But like it's an old movie that didn't need to exist as far as video game movies go. But I remember like that was one of like the nicknames the villains gave Billy and Jimmy and Billy. It was like homely and ugly. But what was I gonna say?
But I reference though. I wanted to be one of them. Me and my brother, you know. That was that duo.
Honestly, that's a great Halloween costume. I'm surprised I haven't seen people do it.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
I mean, I'm sure it exists, but who knows? I want to say, yeah, I get it. And there was something else that came to mind. Now I can't recall what it was. So here's the other thing. When it comes to attractive people trying to build a market in stuff that is already popular, what do you feel about attraction versus talent? Or attraction versus like the appeal of whatever that market is? Do you think that do you as an audience member want the people whom you see do stuff to be attractive? And even if it's a subconscious thing, do you automatically go toward more attractive people?
I think it definitely can be a subtractive thing, and like if I find somebody attractive, I might. Well, this is not always the case, but I could see if I found somebody attractive, I might maybe watch the video a little bit longer, as long as whatever I was viewing wasn't completely, like, it wasn't terrible music in my mind or just completely absurd. I might watch the video a little bit longer because of that, and maybe subconsciously. But I definitely think, just in general, it could be a trap for whoever the individual is actually providing the content. It's like it could be, at least in my mind, I feel like it could be a trap to like not keep nourishing whatever that skill is you're trying to work on to actually get better at, because you get so much attention already for being attractive. So perhaps I could see the market swaying the individual to that side, as opposed to continuing to, like, when whenever they're moving, whenever their content or their whatever their gig was still grassroots before they got all that love just for being attractive. I feel like it can really sway people in that other direction. So I think it could be a trap if you allow it.
Yeah, I could see how you could want to gravitate towards a more attractive artist first, but really I don't really care. Like, even to the point where I can listen to them without knowing how they look, and then just what anything that happens after that is just like, well, dang, like that just make you that unique. Like,
is that
if you a great artist, like the confidence of that will sell your whole image, I think.
I mean, it is. I don't know. I do agree with that. I'll choose talent over the I don't know, like, just because you're ocularly pleasing doesn't necessarily mean that I need to hold you on a higher pedestal than someone who's just really dope with the shit. If you're dope with the shit, it shouldn't really matter how the fuck you look. And I'm not saying it shouldn't. It doesn't.
I completely agree.
I mainly, go ahead.
I think that, like, these would be like it would be ideal if that's what got like more attention or more marketing even. I feel like it's probably easier to market attractive people.
But see that, and therein lies a major issue, though, is because it is literally, we've seen that throughout the music industry for decades, if not, at least the last century of the music industry, is that attractive people with less talent usually get higher market value or whatever than people who may not be conventionally attractive. Because the thing of, like, personally, when it comes to me and attraction, I actually find people who are conventionally pretty less attractive most of the time, until I see that you may have a dope personality. But I something subconsciously in me goes, I mean, you real regular pretty, and then you show me you dope. I'm like, okay, that heightens it. Or if you show me that you whack, then I'm like, inconsequential to my life.
So
go ahead.
Do y'all think that is like, have you ever heard of like industry plants in like music or in comedy? Like, to the same fact that they want to see like a certain image, and they believe that they push certain people. That's why they call it a plant, where the machine is behind this certain person,
right?
They want them to blow up. They are chosen in a way or whatever.
I can see that, and like writes songs specific to this, and like
it's
almost
an
example like
pandering, like pandering, basically.
I don't know if y'all did y'all ever see Dreamgirls?
I don't think I saw it, actually.
Okay, well, there's this whole thing in the plot of Dreamgirls where Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson, and I think her name is Anika Noni Rose. They make up this girl group to begin with, and then eventually, when Jamie Foxx takes over the group, he's like, he's banging Jennifer Hudson, but he's like, hey, I'm actually,
which is not a bad idea.
And then switches. Then he's like, you know what? I think Beyonce needs to be the front of the group, because Beyonce is smaller bodied and pretty and brown skin, yada yada yada. She needs to be the head of the group, even though Jennifer Hudson is the stronger voice, quote unquote. And she's a big girl and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of goes through that whole plight of talent versus conventionally pretty.
I think nowadays is a plus to be different,
It depends on the market you in, though.
Well, true. But if it's talent there, I think, like, I would prefer Jennifer Hudson over that voice, over Beyonce voice.
If we just talking about
lead,
voice,
I mean, yeah, to lead a group probably. I don't know, but I mean but
we're not necessarily even talking about like Jennifer Hudson.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm still talking about the theory of it.
Yeah, the theory.
But it's like, I just think that like what's they call the Adam's favorite group? What is it? Alabama Shakes?
Khruangbin.
The lead singer from Alabama Shakes.
Are you talking about Alabama Shakes?
Yeah.
Like that just makes it more unique that she's the lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
She just, unconventional. I think people want to see that nowadays anyway.
I mean, there's always like weird examples of that.
Yeah.
Like I could be wrong about this, but it's a perception I got back in the day. That Patrick Stump is the front man of Fall Out Boy, but he wasn't the face of Fall Out Boy. It was like the bassist or something like that.
So dude name?
I don't remember, but I remember like when it came to like marketing stuff, they would put out that dude before they put out Patrick, and my assumption was always because Patrick was fat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Patrick could like definitely be a lumberjack.
But I'm saying, like, regardless of his image now, Patrick is immensely talented. He's a great writer. He's a great producer. Like,
I think once everybody else catch on, then I think the mainstream like embraces the overall image of the group or artist or whatever you are. Yeah. Like once you make it big, then you can pretty much show who you really, really are. I think everybody will embrace that. Like now that you out there, everybody gonna listen to you or
that's the whole
thing. Anyway. I agree.
That's not always
so crazy.
The case. That's idealistic.
Well, yeah. If you blow up big, yeah.
I do think the business side of things
not always the case.
I do. But just to your point, like just in one sense, I do think the business side of things has to see. It's like they might be. I can see why they'd be hesitant to like put out somebody who's maybe not who's unattractive, even if they're like dope. I could see them waiting to see the reception of the audience first, and then once they get that yay as opposed to a nay, then I can see them like really backing them. Like, okay, we knew they were dope, but we didn't because of how they look, how they dress, whatever, because they're unconventional. We weren't sure if we wanted to actually back this and see if it was even worth our time. But I can see that.
Therein always lies the issue is that the industry has a history of pushing forward the images that they tell people to care about, as opposed to actually listening to what audiences actually care about. And I'm not saying that like there's not a large group of the population and the world to that point, because we know plenty of people that are like, I need the industry to tell me who to care about. I need the radio to go, this is hot, and whatever the radio is for this generation of social media, SoundCloud, etc. Like I need y'all to tell me this is great so that I can go, oh yeah, that shit is hot.
You know what, man? That's a very good point. But like, I wonder, I feel like it's back and forth because I don't. I go back and forth with this because I feel like it. In some cases, it does. Like, there's definitely a good argument for the industry, the business of things tells us what to like. Like, we might not like. They might invent, like the businessmen or whatever might invent something, and then we have no idea, the quote unquote, we have no idea that we even needed this until they created it and said, hey, you need it. On the other hand, they ain't making no motherfucking money if we don't buy the shit. If we don't show that we care about it, if we don't show that we like it. So it's a very interesting, it's a very fine line, I'd imagine.
But it's a thing of, if they don't make the money, that artist gets dropped. That artist probably could have been dope, but they either didn't get marketed, or the image that they wanted them to have is not the image that really belonged to that was really that artist. Take for example, Rihanna as she is now. Not that I really listen to her like that, but like Rihanna as she is now is not Pon de Replay Rihanna.
True. True.
Nor is she even emo. What was that? Hysteria, like that. Rihanna.
Talk that.
She's not that. She's not that Rihanna either. She's evolved into this other person.
And thank God. Thank God.
I mean,
was like the other person.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it that. Yeah, I'm gonna give it that ASMR. What's that? No, okay. All right. I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind walking in and catching Rihanna with a fucking piece of dog hair, rubbing it up against a mic or something for somebody's pleasure. Some random. I would find that sensual. Okay.
She definitely could do ASMR if her other $1 billion companies don't work.
Right. She ain't hurting for money. That is another thing too. When you're at a certain stage of really not hurting for money, you can just do shit.
Right.
Man, that really is like what you posed, like that posed earlier. That really is the question. It's like, I feel like a lot of times, you look at like independent artists, like Chance, everybody praised him for being so successful as a quote unquote independent artist. Like, was he already Chance? How did he market himself so well? Was the music that good? Or,
yes,
I mean, so would you say that music was good enough for him to not need the marketing of the machine? But plenty of other people have good enough music.
He proved that. There's no question to ask. He proved
what I'm saying is like, how do other people not get the marketing of the machine and not be as successful? Are they just not good enough?
Because it's a thing of what are you actually trying? How are you pursuing it, and what are you trying to pursue? That probably should ask that in the other question first. I should flip that. What are you trying to pursue, and how are you trying to pursue it? It's a thing of Chance used the internet.
Yeah, that's true.
True. And he was highly marketable. Like he don't say nothing too crazy. He's PG enough to be in commercials and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And this is before he got all like Christian rappy. He was still saying, fuck you talking about and doing, gutter Chicago shit. But he was never I'm gonna kill you Chicago.
Right. He liked to,
which also seems to be marketable for whatever
it's
reason.
Like how what Common does. He does the same
right.
thing. Like he remained his edge, but it's like you could do Microsoft commercials.
So So in that case, what do y'all feel about? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc.
No, I was gonna say it just works differently for different people. Some people will catch it and catch a wave, and some people don't. A lot of people don't. Yes. I think that there's a thing of, yes, like Marco said, Chance was extremely marketable. His content really worked for itself. He was able to put on live shows. He's so young that he can pull in that whole new audience. He's been doing stuff. He already had a huge community following.
Mm-hmm. It felt genuine too. I feel like
that's what I'm saying.
Actually, the art. I think that's a big thing. That's like with the backing of the major labels. You don't really have to even be genuine. I mean, it's like it's not going to resonate with as many people probably. Who knows?
That's not always true.
Who knows? I mean, but I feel like I feel like you can be less genuine and sing songs that you don't even necessarily resonate with. That are just catchy.
Again, that comes with, are you writing your music, or do you have writers? What's the image that you're trying to put forth? What's your brand? How are you marketing this? Like there's all these factors that go into that.
I was thinking about the whole plant idea of like
right.
pretty much being molded by the industry,
But see, that comes from, there's a difference between artists who are actually trying to, make their art, and people who are like, I want to be famous.
Yeah.
Whatever I got to do for you to make me famous, I want that.
Yeah. And so I can probably say, you should be a rapper. You got make a tweak here and there, and you'll make it.
Yeah, sell a couple rocks. Sell a couple rocks should be good.
Right? Yeah. Do you know anything about drugs?
And if you don't, we can figure that out. We got
right.
It's a thing of what? Don't listen to Drake. I bring up all these commercial people just because I think this is what people might relate to better. Because if I bring up the motherfuckers that I listen to, people gonna be like, "Who is that?" and shit. So
that's the whole song. Who is that?
I'm sure that was one of Drake's hits.
So from what I hear, Drake changes his personality every 6 songs, and so he's got a different persona every album. This one he's crying and expressing his feelings, according to people. Again, I don't know. I'm just telling you the things I hear. Another one, all of a sudden he's Jamaican because of the island culture in Canada. There's another one where all of a sudden he's hard and gangster, like he wasn't playing a Hartfield paraplegic on a child show.
He a shooter.
Like,
he a hitman.
Like she's a shooter. My homie Colin Josh knows, who I used to work with at Chicago. He used to say that Drake puts the hug and thug.
But it is that thing. Like, I can't question, what his life really was. I didn't live it, but I'm saying that he has been able to change his image, and he's regarded as one of the greats in history. I can't take that away from him. I just don't listen to his music.
That just shows you that that's not what the mass is looking for. They just looking for a hit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people care about, does this music either make me feel good or make me feel something, and
I agree with that.
Does it allow me to tune out?
Yeah, and you got this reputation. Is like, well, we're gonna give it a chance. Got to check a few boxes. It'll take off.
I think the tune out was a big one too. I mean, like, if you I even look at my life and certain things, then I catch myself. Especially I used to a lot more, but catch myself. It's easy to want to, not even want to, maybe even unconsciously use something, and then you realize, oh shit, I was using the shit to tune out how I was feeling about whatever that happened. Mm-hmm. And music is just one of those things that can catch you quick and help you take you to a whole nother world.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people are using that amongst many other things to tune out what's going on, especially in difficult situations. And especially if you got bars like Drake. I mean, you know what I'm saying? God's plan.
So, I mean, all power to him. If you got your bag, you got your bag. I wish him nothing but success. He don't care about me. He's not checking for me.
Somebody comes to mind really quick though. I was thinking of Amy Winehouse.
What about her?
And I don't think she was particularly attractive, in my opinion, at all. But she was a great talent. So I feel like, was she one of those that kind of slipped through? I think she had a backing. She had a big backing.
I think it could be very much argue with you on her attractiveness.
I
am very indifferent toward Amy Winehouse, only because she had that old 70s sitcom bump situation. Usually, that's the main image that I have of Amy Winehouse, is having that all in the family bump.
She had a pinup vibe.
She had a pinup vibe. That's real. And so I'm very indifferent. I think she was cute, but I think her talent far outweighed the need for her to possibly be mad attractive. I think she was a pretty white woman, and she was immensely talented.
I love that.
I don't know if it was a slip through, because her brand of music was more jazz than it was R&B.
True. But I'm just saying, her great talent, it's wonderful it warmed my heart to see such a great talent be caught, or for that to catch your eye, even if you're not Beyonce or Rihanna looking.
But no, that's what I'm saying. No, I think what your sentiment is a little skewed. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's because you're not attracted. You're saying she slipped through, and to other people, I'm sure they're like, she's a pretty white woman and she's English.
Yeah, that's true. It's subjective. That's true.
Yeah, she's a pretty English white woman, and she can really sing. She could. So
I guess I was gonna use the angle of conventionally, not Christina Aguilera, not Britney Spears,
that's still an American standard.
But that's very true. That's a good point.
Because the European standard is very different.
But she got a lot of shit for her teeth. I mean, I'm just
saying
British. I'm just saying I'm just thinking of things in regards to there is an idea of beauty that is asymmetric. Your face asymmetric. You have to have this, have that, and I guess this is very subjective. Of course, in my mind, she wasn't that perfect package of we could just throw you out there, put your face on makeup and all kinds of shit.
It's very blues to me.
Very blues.
Her whole persona. You know, she don't have to be like that type of pretty. It's a different type of.
So you're thinking that because like her sound kind of went along with a different lifestyle, a different image, as opposed to
because she wasn't making pop. Most of the time, those imagery things have to do with somebody making pop.
I guess I kind of felt like she ended up being a pop artist because of how popular she. But I feel like that was her talent that took her into pop stardom as opposed to just staying in that lane.
But I guess
I was wrong.
Isn't there a differentiation between someone who makes pop music and someone who becomes a popular star? Now, granted, pop just means popular, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
but I'm saying like we can't hold Amy Winehouse and Britney Spears in the same category.
No. But I'm not thinking about. No, I'm not arguing there at all.
But no, I'm saying like
I had to answer that.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, that boy taking too long. Oh no, it's like
because I'm like that they're like
I was thinking of like popular music as someone who makes like. In that case, what my definition, my question would be, what is popular music? Because,
but again, popular and pop are not the same thing.
Oh, okay. Now that you say it like that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess apparently I never knew what pop or popular music is then, because I feel like a lot of rappers became like pop stars.
Pop stars, yes.
You know,
and the thing about it is,
and their music was popular.
I think that's where the what's
kind of blurred, like.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, what is the definition? Maybe it's subjective to,
because I think it's a thing of pop. Pop used to mean like whatever is popular is considered pop, but then pop became a genre in itself.
Yeah,
because that's what's always interesting to me about when people consider Michael Jackson's music pop, and you got to go, okay. If you listen to it versus the other music of the era, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
It was majorly popular, and it kind of matched what music sounded like of that era.
Mm-hmm.
But Amy wasn't making music that sounded like her era.
Yeah, I wonder what her influences were. I mean, that's like
a lot of jazz and blues. A lot of jazz and blues.
Like specifically, it'd be wonderful to hear like who she.
Did you watch that? Did you watch that doc? I think she did talk about it on there.
I don't think I did. I don't think I caught it.
Yeah, catch the doc. Amy, we were talking about this a couple of.
Oh, where you did? All right, my bad. You did say that.
No, you good. And so that's an interesting thing. And hey, we can cut this out if it doesn't work, but it's kind of a segue because it's a part of the episode that we lost. Because there's now grown to be a differentiation between pop and popular. How do y'all feel about how music gets categorized and how artists may not even fit that mold? And of course, this is going to go into a hip hop conversation later, possibly, but in this situation of just because music is popular doesn't necessarily mean it's pop music. Chance's music is popular. He doesn't sound like a pop artist.
I think
Kendrick Lamar has very popular music. He's not a pop artist.
They should, first of all, it should be album by album. I don't think that you should define the artist by that one, unless every project is in a similar like vein or whatever.
Right.
I think that because a lot of artists, one album may be very different. It may be an R&B, it may be like a techno, whatever. I
like that.
But I do think they need to change the terms of them and reorganize the categories.
Yeah.
Maybe every like 5 years or whatever, something like that. As music changes,
as music evolves,
or 10 years, whatever, maybe longer. But
I think a great example of this is Donald Glover. Donald Glover. I don't know why I cut that off. How most of his career was built through hip hop and rap, some EDM here and there. But Awaken My Love, that's a funk album.
Yeah, it's dope.
And I don't know that when it was out in award season and all that, it was considered a funk album.
And there's a lot of artists like that, like Kendrick Lamar. Like I was watching the interview he did with what's the legendary producer?
Rick Rubin.
Yeah, Rick Rubin. Yeah. And he was talking about how he found out he was influenced by jazz a lot. So it was you could tell is like a very jazzy album. And it probably, you know, if you want to compare it to like Damn or whatever, it's probably like, I guess we get into the hip hop conversation about this.
It's like it's gonna come here eventually.
Kind of ease into it. I guess you could say like you can categorize it differently if you want like subcategories in hip hop. I think I don't know how many you would have. You probably could break it down a lot, but they probably need to acknowledge that it's not all the same, just like they do in every other genre.
But that's the main issue. And we can try to act like it's not some racist bullshit, but it is. It's lumping all hip hops together,
and it messes up the awards. That's why we think the awards is BS. Like
because they're comparing artists that ain't in the same shit.
And then they try to who makes them in that category, or maybe do they put themselves in a category to heighten their chances of winning, or I don't understand that process.
I don't know what that process. I don't know what that process is either.
I feel like at least part of the formula of like what makes pop music has kind of leaked into a lot of other genres. So I think it makes it tougher when it leaks into hip hop and everything starts sounding the same, because that one particular formula or sound is the one. So everything, and then rock from the 80s or whatever. There's some same tune. There was like some tune or there's something that sounded the same in almost every song. It just tweaked it a bit. It had a different singer. You have hip hop, the same thing. I think that formula is what makes, in my mind, what everybody calls, what we're calling pop music. They have that same formula they use, and they just use that same thing over and over. And you can say, okay, I know that's pop music, because
I think that's
just leaking, and it's making it harder when everything in a lot of shit in hip hop is sounding the same. It's making it harder to differentiate.
They use
like hip hop. You know?
They use that like analogy in sports, like whenever the team like wins the championship, then every other team is trying to build that same formula of a team.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you
gotta have a this type of defense and this certain offense, you know. But they just trying to copy off of the success pattern.
That's to me why it makes it. That's why it's tougher sometimes people to decipher pop music from popular music. Because
it could be an artist that's
using the same formula.
but I guess
go ahead.
Go ahead,
Josh.
I was gonna say it's a thing of, though, we're saying like, you know, rock has these things going on, and we could even say like country has these things going on, but people who listen to country know the difference between country and bluegrass. I don't. I literally couldn't tell you the difference. But it's a thing of, it's because I don't listen to it. But you know what also I don't do? I don't control awards. I don't control accolades. I don't control any of that part of the system. And what happens is that this same experience gets put in those positions of power who get to categorize and give genre labels to all of these different sectors of the music industry. And you don't know.
Right. And this is supposed to be the pinnacle of music. And y'all don't even know all the, you know, music out here.
Yeah. Because there's no reason that Kendrick and Macklemore should have been in the same category, in my opinion.
Because I didn't hear people who listen to hip hop, I feel like didn't really hear that.
But that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, because like rock, and I'm only making this comparison because it's a genre that I'm relatively quite familiar with. With rock, you have metal, progressive, folk, alternative. You got
you got the soft
heavy
rock.
metal, soft, death metal. You got all of these different subcategories, and so nobody's comparing Paramore, Aerosmith, and System of a Down. No one's going, but somehow Most Def can get compared to Soulja Boy, and that doesn't make sense.
But it should be overall rock, hip hop, whatever. I think the top in the whatever category should battle or whatever.
That's apples and oranges cool. Shit. Like here's the only reason like opposition I have to that. In the dance battle scene, they'll have what's it called? They'll have like different styles battle each other. And so you'll have a popper battle a breakdancer, and you'll have like a crumper battle a footworker, and you're like, y'all aren't doing the same thing. And so unless the judging panel is really versed in the styles and techniques that you do, they're gonna give a general thing. And if I don't fucking care about footworking, I'm probably gonna go for the breakdancer. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. It's hard to do it objectively.
I guess in a way it'll always be somewhat of a popularity thing.
That's what,
in that sense, you know.
But I'm just saying, like, it's an unfair bias to put those things against each other if you know you have an affinity for one of them or any of them.
I feel what you're saying, but I think it should be a overall should be still named for some reason.
You know, I'm curious though, Josh. Like,
just like
how would you rather see it? Because, let's say whoever. How can it be fair? How can it be more fair without adding the aspect of this particular artist was more popular than the others? If their both of their music was good. Maybe that one person was more popular, and so they got the award. Or they both were just as good. You know?
To use an example, like Kendrick Lamar being less popular than Drake, I still feel like it should be an overall category that says, like, Kendrick Lamar is killing hip hop more than Drake.
But
we gotta say that.
In order. All these things are so subjective. I think.
Well, yeah,
right. They are. And so unless you make a metric for it, which kind of doesn't work because it's art. Everything is gonna be. Everything is
already a subcategory of music. So
what is
hip hop?
Under the umbrella of music, hip hop is already a subcategory.
Yeah.
It's a category. I think a subcategory.
I mean, right. Is already a section of music,
and
I think that it should be a top.
But here's the thing: to say that says like if we're saying like every category or
every category is not what I guess what I'm saying is every category is not valued the same
at all. and
it shouldn't.
Because it's subjective. It's what your experience is.
Yes.
Nothing about my experience wants me to care about country. And so am I going to a Garth Brooks concert? Hell no.
Maren Morris.
So when does
I want to hear your.
No one cares about Maren Morris.
I want to hear your lips say it.
So when we're evaluating, like, because that's what award is, to evaluate who are we saying that this award is coming from? Like a group of, you know, very
out of touch
audiophiles. Like who do we make? Whose opinion do we value? Like them, whoever like the mass majority of people, or whoever we think that should be the judges, because they have the ultimate.
It seems like it has to be something. I can see why they would use or put in high regard the popular opinion or like society's opinion of, you know. popularity, which is why they would maybe lean more towards that. Because otherwise, it's like, what's the answer to that question?
There are certain metrics that you can go by, but the unfortunate side of using metrics is art is subjective. Everybody has different opinions, and so that's a time old what's the word I'm looking for? That's a old as hell argument about hip hop in general, because take M for example. There's a lot of MCs beyond his subject matter that don't care about M because he's white, and because he's white, he had better record sales than a lot of other people because the industry was kind of behind him because he was white. And so you had, even though some folks still respected him as an MC, even though they were like, he just talking about killing his mom and, popping pills and shit. I can't really relate to that shit. It's why a lot of old MCs didn't like him, right? But then you got people like, I think the only MC I've heard always advocate for him is Redman of that generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so are we comparing M's record sales? Or in today's cases, we're like, oh, this person may not be the greatest MC, but they got the number one amount of streams of all people. So they're the top. And then it gets back into opinion. And so do I really care about other people's opinion? No. And I don't care about the metrics either. Let's be very clear about that. I care about opinions more than I care about more than I care about the metrics. But I barely care about opinions.
Well, now that we mentioned M, I must speak on it.
I was gonna say I do trust people who do listen to music at a more intimate level than like how we were thinking. Remember we were talking about earlier, like people who listen to the radio and allow the whoever to tell them what's good or not. I don't want to leave, award decisions to those people.
But we don't know them. We don't know. Like the people that we know that are influenced like that are irrelevant to these award proceedings. I'm saying the people.
I mean, ideally.
I'm saying if you if somebody handed you a list with pictures and headshots and all that kind of stuff of everybody who's on the committee of the Grammys, how are you going to know what their relationship to music is? Even if they're record execs, even if they're in the industry, they could just be in the industry. Like, how would you know?
That's why the whole thing is crazy.
Maybe I'm talking about like music critics. Like people who listen to music for a living and know a bit of music, in general.
Who hear things a little differently.
I think I respect them a little more.
I think what Marcus is saying, like, let's say you're like a visual painter for 40, 50 years. You're known in society as a master. And you have apprentices or whatever, maybe people will value that person's opinion because of a half a century of experience and learning and perhaps hopefully evolving along the way. They'd value that person's opinion from having been in that field and immersed in that. Just like
field I value y'all musical opinion at a more relationship. Yeah, exactly. In the first man I meet on the street, I probably would gamble that y'all have music that I would enjoy more than his.
I'm saying that opinion is born out of the fact that we have rapport built with one another. And to speak to Aaron's point of society regards that person as a genius and a master and all that kind of shit, how, and I will keep all names out of this.
That was my best example.
I'm saying I'm a dancer and a choreographer. I love what I do. I also am very unfortunately critical of a lot of people in this industry because a lot of it is boring or it's masturbatory and it's either dance for the sake of dance that doesn't really affect its audience at all, or it's just intellectual for the fuck of, like, it's because I have context in that way because I'm a dancer. And so the way that something may affect you, you may be like, oh, it was nice. I got the story, or, you know, it was cool. They look like they, you know, they really worked hard. And I'm like, man, I fell asleep in the first 3 minutes because I was bored out of my fucking mind. And so
but that's true. It's like, I mean, once again, it's definitely subjective. But I do think that's really nice. Like, if you were to ask somebody on the street who wasn't in that field for a certain amount of years, it'd be nice sometimes, actually often, to hear a fresh perspective, because I think it can be easy if you're in a field for so long to just get caught up in that shit and not see things from, you know, the fish that's in water doesn't know it's in water until you take it out, kind of thing. I think it'd be nice to have that perspective. But if Leonardo da Vinci painted a particular style or stroke a million times, I might need to ask him first before I ask somebody else about that particular technique.
Because but the thing is, you've built your relationship to Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, you're right. It's how I'm valuing him already. But
let me even ask this because I see a question burning on Marcus's lip, and I don't want to impose on him.
You got that Newport on your lip.
And so let me make sure I ain't forget my fucking question. Did your how you regard Da Vinci's work, is that because, one, you were educated on his work, and so it was already presented to you as being on a pedestal?
That's a good point.
And so you're like, oh, I should probably value this. And then you go and look at it, and your exposure to it is now like, oh, this is regarded as great. And you were a young mind because of what you were in middle school, high school when you got introduced to his work.
It was like probably middle school. Early middle school.
Middle school, impressionable mind. It's being molded. You're told Leonardo da Vinci is S-class, high caliber. He that motherfucker. And then you go looking at his work and all of that kind of stuff. You may have developed an opinion that said, I don't really get it. But it's held up here. And then you start getting good feelings toward his work. And now you're like, this motherfucker's a master. I've been told he's a master, but also I enjoy his work. He's a fucking master. It's further solidified that thing that you were, that thing that was told to you and embedded into you.
Oh, Marcus, get your thing out, because he's very right. It's hard. First of all, let me just say that it's hard to argue that. It's hard to argue that. However, all we got to do is give him and a person on the street a pen and paper, or a paintbrush and some paper, and see the difference in quality. Now, once again, quality, one person could be, you know, but if I say everybody can have the same desire, the same energy to do something, the same passion to do something, the same perspective, the same openness to have a certain level of involvement in something, no doubt about it. Person on the street and Leonardo da Vinci. But it's another thing to take that, what every human being is capable of, and then have 20,000 hours of having that openness while you're applying that, or letting something flow through into the actual practice of the skill. So you're right. You're 100% right. But I do think there's an aspect of, I guess it's like having a respect or appreciating how somebody got to where they are, how somebody even got to being considered this, you know, how somebody got to being considered this good to where they're in a book and then teaching impressionable minds. That's something that the person on the street might not have, at least in that field. And I think that it's respectable, you know?
Sure. I feel you.
I agree with you. But
I feel you. I'm not saying that I disagree with you at all. I
was gonna say,
Marco, please,
because right now, I guess I got a lot of sports analogies, but like the whole dunk contest situation. Every time they go somewhere and find random people, celebrities or whatever, they screw the dunk contest up. But whenever there's a panel of people like Dominique Wilkins, people who've been there before, like
Mm-hmm.
they know what's dope.
Right.
They understand the difficulty level.
Yeah.
And those two, that combination is what it takes to be a real judge. Like, and obviously not be, you got to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
So you're saying
to
that you
that same point, like whoever is judging the music should have some type of rapport where we know, like as the mass, the people know, like I could trust him to not that we looking for somebody to tell you what's good. Is that, I mean, I do think that the majority of people have some type of say in what's good or whatever. Is I guess the question is like, is it an inclusive race,
mm-hmm.
is it all fair,
Yeah, I agree that there's no way to really tell whether or not it's actually happening fairly, because to this day, I don't know who the fuck votes on these award ceremonies.
Yeah.
That's what they need to reveal.
That truly is a thing, because I'm like, I know I have seen sometimes artists, I know I saw somebody the other day, I wish I remember who it was. They had gotten an envelope to like cast their Emmy votes or Grammy votes or something like that. And they were like, shit, I forgot to do it. And I was like, so wait, are they actually asking artists to be a part of the situation?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or is it just because my assumption is it's always some artists, some people, some execs from behind the scenes, and maybe some people who know, like maybe you're not an actor but you're a director or a producer, or I just doubt anybody, like let's say for the Emmys or the Oscars, nobody from the dude who holds the boom mic is not casting votes. I don't know if that's true, and no disrespect to him. Sorry, Bob, Joe,
Jerry.
But it is that thing of I agree with you that those people need to be made. Those names of people need to be made public. I don't know why that's not the case, because I think it will show probably some kind of leanings in some way that would probably validate the gripes that people have had with these award ceremonies for forever, of how you can get an Oscars multiple years in a row where there's nobody of color nominated in any category, Black, Indigenous, or POC. And so, yeah, I don't know.
That's because they're putting that shit in the name generator and just hitting go. Yeah, it's very interesting, man. I think like the fair aspect is the question. Like question to, if not start with, at least like that's up there. And
So in regards to fairness, because we're gonna try to make this a segue. In regards to fairness, we know that too many times we suffer the circumstances that we unfortunately either did control or didn't control, and we're met with the situation of failure. And so I gotta ask, I'm gonna pose a question that Aaron posed. And so I'm not gonna act like I'm making this up. I'm just here to build the bridges, if you will. What's your relationship with failure, or the idea of it? And how has it changed over time? How has it affected different aspects of your life? There's a lot of questions in there, so we're gonna do this one at a time, or try to approach them as you so please. Right, Aaron, you were the one that posed these questions, so I'm gonna read them one more time for the listeners and put on my quiet storm voice. So anybody that's trying to listen, let me get my bass back. What's your relationship with failure? The idea of it, and how has it changed over time? How has it affected different aspects of your life? All right, Aaron, let me know what's going on, man. What
No, actually, the thing that prompted it and made me think about it, or like made it come to mind, I guess, is something that I had thought about quite a bit. I feel like in the last maybe 10 years of my life or so, just at least more frequently throughout the years. But today in particular, just I was on route because I'm a driver. And it was brought to my attention that a possible mistake had been made in it, and I was completely thrown off. That is just like, it wasn't nothing big. It was pretty simple, but I was thrown off and couldn't understand how. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me that would have. It seemed like the only way this could have happened is if I didn't do my job right, and it did, and that aspect of it didn't make sense. So then, the question came up, like, pay attention to what has been my relationship to failure for my whole life. That kind of that question just came up. So, I have to tweet about it. No, but just my relationship to failure for a good bit of my life was a one of, I would use the word suffering, maybe not to the same degree always. But
when you say suffering, what do you mean?
Where I suffered when it was brought to my attention. This is not every time, but I'm saying like majority, I'd say more than not. I suffered. What is the good way? What's the best way to say it when I say I've suffered? My relationship to it wasn't a good one. It wasn't accepting of it. It was more of a resisting. Someone telling me that I made a mistake, or me respecting their opinion, or me believing them, and I think a lot of it, at the root of it was, for me, it wasn't that I made a mistake. It's that, like, oh, I am the mistake. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I took that on, like, oh, I didn't just make the mistake. I am somebody who makes mistakes. Like, I am just not like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, they should have worn a condom. But I'm talking about, yo, come on. Look, I'm just giving the people what they want. No, man, but for real. I know. Yeah, man. That's yo, come on. I'm trying to.
I'm laughing because I'm just thinking of Robin Williams, like how he going. You reminded me of Robin Williams.
how he just like veers off into different voices. Yeah. Should have want to go.
He was great, man. But yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. Is like, especially early on, like Marcus can attest to this, just in general, in regards to like being an art major also in high school, and being in classes with me of, I couldn't even finish a lot of my art. Not all the time, but a good amount of time, because once I hit a certain part of this work of art, it was hard for me to be like, damn, I've gotten it. I guess you can call me a perfectionist, especially at that time. So once I got this particular part to a certain level, I didn't see that I could take that to the rest of it. So it would like stunt me. Oh, I'm gonna fail after, like I'm not accepting. I'm not okay with the rest of it not being like this. So I wouldn't even approach it. So it was stunt me quite a bit. And actually, I think failure, or my relationship with failure is a better way to say it, is what got me. It changed my direction and changed my perspective on life, because art, speaking of art, has been something that has always been a challenge for me. I mean, and there was a time 10 or more years ago where I told myself I was going to teach I won't make this too long. I was trying to teach myself oil painting over a summer. Lo and behold, it didn't work out. And I did what I normally do, started painting Everybody else likes it in the household. I had my gripes about it. The shit wasn't even halfway done. To start having gripes about it was not even halfway done. Will never allow you to see it through. And that just goes for life, you know.
I remember the moments.
Yeah. So that there were a certain amount of nights after I had like taken that particular painting and ripped it up. There were like 3 nights where I was incredibly down, and it takes us back to, I think, a previous podcast where we spoke a little bit about suicide. And I remember having certain moments of like, yo, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in my life. I'm not where I envision myself at this age. Things aren't going, you know, a certain way, blah, blah, blah. And it was art that kind of got me there. That was like that constant challenge for whatever reason, which I think because I value so many of other people's opinions, and it kind of, and I believed them. I would say I believed them about myself in regards to what my skill level was, what I was capable of, blah, blah, blah. But failure, my relationship to failure, and considering that particular piece of failure really drove me deeper in like a matter of 3 nights after tearing up that painting, crying myself to sleep. It just brought me deeper, and lo and behold, it got me in a different path, I guess you would say. It got me more introspective, just my relationship. And at some moment, I think I saw that like it was a lot of it was me, and I couldn't blame other people's opinions or whatever for it. And a lot of it was me and my relationship to their opinions. So my relationship to failure brought me to that point and kind of changed my direction on things.
So what's your relationship with failure now?
It is one definitely more accepting. I still see residue, I'll say, from the past. Because I think when you live a certain way for so long, there's a lot of momentum in that. So, you know, which is why you might feel like, all right, I'm good. And then you, on a different day, in a different time, you're in a similar situation with the same level of challenge, and you wonder why you restrict again, or you feel some of those similar feelings come up because there's a certain level of momentum from living a certain way of life for 20 something years. So I still see the momentum, but it's one that I'm allowing that whatever those feelings are to move a little easier now and not blocking them up, you know. Okay. It's definitely more accepting. It's a challenging one. It's a one that I'm growing with, for sure. I'm growing with it instead of going. I'm willing to slowly walk downhill instead of so much of the uphill battle that it used to be. Now, I'm not running downhill, but I'm willing to take baby steps downhill as opposed to the uphill battle that I realized I was very much a big part of creating for myself.
It's interesting you draw the metaphor as walking downhill as opposed to fighting uphill, because that would almost imply that you're above it and trying to ease yourself into whatever the truth that you want to exist, like being able to cope with whatever that is, as opposed to going, oh, there's this moment of growth for me to reach, and I'm approaching that ascent differently. Am I reading into this weirdly?
I think I see what you're saying. I think I can see how it have sounded like that. But when
that's not a judgment call. I'm just
no.
I'm curious. I'm curious about where you find yourself in that journey.
Well, I think what I was saying, what I would attribute it to better is I saw it had nothing to do with the art or my abilities. On a practical level, I have to nourish that skill. You don't have to do anything, but ideally you nourish that skill and then it shows. So you put a certain amount of time in anything and it shows. But I was recognizing that it was just me with my ideas of myself and my experience of things. And
I don't know that we're talking about the same. I don't think we're talking about the same.
That's what I was saying. And
I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
No. I'm saying that like that's what I was attributing, and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that I had a lot to do with my blockages on even being willing to put forth the effort to nourish that skill in art. So I just saw like art was what I would say is like something that really changed my direction on how I want how I see things or how I will live. It just so happened that it was that challenge that I'm attributing to art. I'd imagine it could have been anything. But,
yeah, I still don't think we're talking about the same thing, but I hear you. Because I'm not questioning that part of it. I'm clear about you saying, you know, you finding yourself to be the main contribution to the mind states and perspectives you were having toward yourself. I was mainly addressing the metaphor that you gave because that was just an interesting perspective to say where you are in the midst of that. I can't say growth because you said you were coming down. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are you saying growth? When you say, I guess, when you say growth, do you mean growth practically in the skill of it, or growth practically
purely in the metaphor? I would clearly. I guess it could be clearly said like, this is a point of growth that you are going. Oh, okay, I recognize this issue. This is how I'm dealing with it. But the way you described it was saying, instead of fighting an uphill battle, I'm slowly walking downhill, meaning that the goal is downhill and that you've already reached this summit.
Okay.
So now I'm going back. And so that's why I was like, I'm a little confused about the metaphor.
He went in deep.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like, going with the flow of the challenges that come in the process. The downhill is like going with the flow of it, as opposed to an unnecessary means of going.
Like struggle.
What I mean is, instead of taking the arduous route, I'll take the route, the easier route. If I'm getting to the same destination, getting the easier route. Okay. I didn't know. I got you. You're talking about purely the metaphor. I got you.
It was like the metaphor is what threw me. I was fine with everything else. I was that metaphor. So up and down didn't matter. You were saying I was fighting myself before, and now I'm trying to provide myself the grace to grow with this perspective that I've come into.
Precisely.
Got it.
Damn. Okay. See, it's like your boy. I didn't take a fucking class on being concise though.
I just want to make sure, because I know sometimes we don't always see eye to eye on stuff, and that if I'm confused, I always figure I can't be the only one. And so
I respect that.
Marco, what's your feelings on this?
Well, I do agree with Aaron to a certain extent. I will say I've had that problem sometimes, as far as not being able to kind of being a little paralyzed by what you may think how it's going to turn out, or how others feel it turned out. But I would say I have a pretty healthy relationship. I mean, I haven't always had a healthy relationship with failure, but I would say my issue is more procrastination than that aspect of it. Because I feel like to start something, I'm gonna want to see it to the end, but I think it is all about how much energy you put into it, like or speaking things like for example, this podcast. Like I kind of felt like it would be a good idea, and a lot of things had to happen after that, but the initial push or whatever. So I would say, man, failure is definitely necessary. Like I think we always talk about like how like challenges is what make you
Yeah.
find yourself, or what, however you want to phrase that. But I mean, anybody successful will tell you like don't be afraid to fail. But I think
Right.
it's harder, it's easier said than done,
Mhm.
because especially for people who made it already, sometimes it may be a little discouraging hearing them say that, but I think it'll always be true. Like the more you fail, the more you learn, if you keep going, the more you will sharpen your whatever you trying to do. So,
Mhm.
but personally, like I said, like procrastination is a thing for me. So
Yeah, man.
So,
That's yeah. I think I can. I should have added that one too. I mean,
can I
especially
ask,
in high school.
can I ask this? If you can recognize that procrastination is an issue for you, are you actively doing anything to work against it?
definitely, like that is what the goal is. Like if I can so easily identify that problem, then I need to be doing something. So it's all about like for one, being being true to, not saying like you don't take risks, but being true to what you're good at.
Mhm.
Uh but also for me is keeping in mind that you need to do it now, like instead of waiting for a certain time, which a lot of things you probably do want to wait for the right time, but I don't want anything to be, I don't want my not taking the initiative to do something be the reason why I don't see success,
Mm.
in whatever it may be. So,
Oh yeah.
but that's a good point to whatever, like if failure, not being scared to fail is not my issue, and I identified what it is, then I definitely, you wanna target that. So
I mean, it's one of
it
those
is a
things.
work in progress. So
Oh, absolutely, as all things are. I ask because I have had people in my life, and I'll say it too, where you recognize something is an issue, and one of two things that could either come out if you know you aren't actively working towards something to oppose it or something to negate it, dismantle it. You're like, I ain't got there yet, or I'm working on it. Give me some grace, because I was it an ex of mine used to have these unfounded fears where she would just be like, I'm scared of that thing, and I'll go like, why? What was the root of it? Like, what you scared of? And she's like, I know it doesn't make sense, but anytime I see the bear from Snuggie, it creeps me out, and I'm like,
and
like
also,
it's,
are you that person who wants the grace for it, or do you want to be pushed? Like I don't want the grace part as much as, if we had a rapport, we close, I you invested in me like at a
mm-hmm,
level, more than a stranger,
mm-hmm.
then of course we're gonna want to push, our loved ones to be greater. So
Yeah. I
I
mean,
probably
there's
I'm probably not the person who want to be like, don't bring that up,
that's
that's
not
a
grace
that's a
though. That's
problem.
asking people to leave you alone. There's a
Well,
difference.
yeah, I guess I'm speaking in extremes in that sense, but
Mm-hmm.
I
No, I
guess
mean, both of those exist though.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
feel, I
yeah.
feel you. It's literally a thing of like, I have trans friends. Sometimes I be slipping up, and I gotta go. Like if it's a thing of if I see a homie and I'm like, oh yeah, that's hers, and they go, it's like hymns, and I'm like, word, that's his. Like that's his. I said hymns. Like that. I say hers. And they correct me, and I like for me, I'm like, oh shit, okay, word. And it's not, but there have I haven't had this issue because I have that conversation with those friends to go like, yo, I may fuck up. I got a lot of social programming I'm dealing with. So forgive me and correct me. Excuse me. Please, if I fuck up too many times, by all means, you can punch me in the chest. But I just ask you to give me some grace because I'm stupid and I ain't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I feel that.
And so it is that thing where I'm like, that's me just saying like, I'm probably going to fuck up. I'm telling you that I'm actively working toward it. And I will do shit that I will do shit if I can that I hope is not going to make you feel uncomfortable. If you are a trans man and I say, yo, this is bro over here, like that's the way my brain has to do it. I hope that's not bigoted, but you tell me if you don't like it. And if you don't like it, I'll fix it. And it's that kind of thing where I'm saying like, okay, there's this aspect of my like conditioning and social programming that I'm trying to deal with, but I need you to give me some grace because it affects you.
Yeah. What I've realized too is that I've just gotten looking at it on like several different levels. One, like practical. Like Marcus was saying earlier, I'm definitely much more willing to see it through now. Not that I like wasn't, but maybe like it was a little more unhealthy of like I wasn't even allowing the process to flow because I was already saying it has to be like this. It has to be like the process never even goes because I already have this idea. I'm stunting it from the beginning, you know. But I'm much better about even like letting things go now. Like, okay, it just wasn't. If I can let it go without losing any sleep, and feeling a certain way about it internally, which is one of my best ways of judging. If I still can have a certain sense of ease about it, then I'm okay with letting it go. Like that's been a big help for me. And then, of course, there are certain things that might be more pressing and need to be done. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'm like paying attention. I'm watching. Oh, am I willing to still push through, even if it's challenging, or if I'm in a feeling a bit of wanting to procrastinate? Am I still willing to push through? Okay, I am. Okay, you know. So like I'm checking it at each particular situation. How am I responding in this particular situation with this level of challenge versus that one? But I'm definitely much better about just letting go. And if I can still feel good about it, then I feel a certain sense of like success. I feel like, okay.
You know, I'm guessing when you say let go, you're mainly applying that to situations that are only have to do with and only affect you. I ask that because if you're in a situation where a statement or decision or something like that affects another person and they have some feelings about it, right?
Which happens.
whether or not you let it go is a little irrelevant because it affected somebody else.
Okay, I see. So what I mean
by
that's
like, and like that's always gonna happen.
It depends on the situation, of course.
It is,
but
I guess what I'm saying is my internal struggle with it. Like I'm able to let that go more, and I felt like at least even in the past that was my biggest struggle of my thoughts about the shit, my feelings about the shit, it has to be this way, like my need to control the whole process, even internally, like how I'm viewing this shit, how, you know, so that helps even in like in relationships and stuff, or you guys are in relationships. So that has helped me. And that's what I mean. I'm like not necessarily practically on that level. I'm sorry.
No, you good. Because I was about to cut you off, so it's all good. I'm asking this question with a bit of a double standard because these kind of conversations can get very drowned in ambiguity. And so I'm trying to present more specified circumstances, but still not necessarily really be that specific. I'm not being like, okay, so you're in a situation where, you know, you and your girl are chilling, and then let's say a very lovely woman with a very fat ass walks by, and then you know, like your eyes go and glance, and then you do nothing to obstruct the situation. Y'all are both sitting there eating vegan parfait, and you just like
like how and you chose that dish.
And then you come back to, and she's like, what was that? And you're like, yo, did you see that ass? And she's like, I feel the ways about this. And you're like, I let it go. Like that just like that doesn't necessarily work. But
no. You're right.
And so
on a practical level, yeah.
Yeah. And so I know we're speaking with ambiguity, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah. I guess it's hard. Yeah. I guess what I'm speaking about is hard to, or it's more challenging. It's easier to be ambiguous when I say internally, but like I'm assuming that everybody has experience with their emotions, and everybody has experience with like things that are tangible every single day. You got your body, your mind, your energy, your emotions. These things that are tangible to you every single day. You're experiencing them every day, unconsciously or consciously. So in my mind, those are tangible and not so ambiguous. But I'm just saying like that. Like, I mean, I've had that in relationships before. Hell, you guys saw my relationship in high school. It was nothing but that. And I think the best way to say it is just like that need to control shit. Like, even especially in a relationship, and in a particular situation where I need to control the outcome, which might look like I need her to say to certain things that make me like that reaffirm how I think shit should be, how I think she should have responded when I was looking at that girl's ass or whatever.
And I know that was a horrible example.
No.
Something better.
No, it happens to me. It happens to me every day, actually.
I mean, because I say that from a privileged place. Hey, acknowledge your privilege, people. I say that as if a lovely young woman, older woman, doesn't really matter, walks past with a juicified posterior, I have every liberty to be able to go, hey baby, yo, 3 o'clock, look at that. Damn! Like, it's just, but we'll have a good laugh about that. Like, we'll have a very good laugh about that. It's not real objective. It's minor objectification by all means. That person knows that she has a fat ass, and she probably is embracing it, loving it.
Probably wearing something that made you say that. Her clothes made you say that.
I'm like, I'm not blaming you on none of that shit. I'm just going, hey, that's an acknowledgement.
Yeah,
and here's the thing.
Cover yourself up, baby.
I have been known to just.
Marcus about to get us count. Yo, we about to get jumped.
I've been known to awkwardly offer compliments and statements and walk the fuck away so that there's not even that energy in it. I will gladly just be like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to disturb your day. I just want to let you know you're ridiculously gorgeous. Have a great day. I don't want you to misconstrue any intentions or anything like that. If you ask me to turn around and be like this, excuse me, sir, that's all you gonna say? Now you got me in, but I just wanted to let you know. But I say all that to say nothing. Literally, I had no point in that entire thing.
No, bro. Like, I think like I get what you're saying about being like ambiguous and like it's easier to find something like more concrete. Like definitely.
I just know usually. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. You had a good point.
I usually in these kind of conversations, I usually just try to bring examples because it not to. I usually don't have an issue with like telling aspects of my life and whatnot, and so I'm usually like, if I have something that I'm tracing this feeling or whatnot to, I'll just tell the situation or tell the story of it, probably because I love telling stories, and that's because it presents what happened, how it happened, the thoughts and decisions that went into that, the emotional and mental influences that made those decisions occur. Like it gets to unpack all of that and kind of eliminate the metaphorical ambiguity of it all to a better degree. So it doesn't just sound like metaphysical mumbo jumbo. And so I'm not saying that's what was. I'm not saying that was what was happening. I'm saying like if I could have pose that to you was go like, hey, do you have something concrete to say? Or does that change? Does that change that when it's outside of you?
That's a good point. Actually, I find that when I speak to somebody's experience, they feel like it resonates or it's more relatable as well at times, for sure. Mm-hmm. Like explaining an experience and then speaking towards it, somebody can say, "Oh," and that's actually why I was like talking about like these are things that are tangible to people every day. Like you have a body with you every day. You have a mind that's on. Every day.
I feel you on that. I do think there's a difference between saying, something that's tangible and saying the tangible thing. You know what I mean? I think you're explaining the tangible thing now, but before you just like, we all have something tangible. And like, what's tangible?
Like, I mean, I don't want to go into that'd be a lot longer.
I'm not saying you gotta tell aspects of your life and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying any of this even criticize how you're bringing it. That was just
I'm not
thing that came to me.
I'm not taking it that way. We can get any number of like relationship examples. You know what I'm saying? That's like, because that's somebody who's like with me or with you every day. Who's very much like a mirror for me, and like, oh shit, I needed to work on that. That's still there. Like I'm seeing that a lot, or I have seen that a lot. So
same here. I mean, that life all too well.
And like, actually, I want to say there are definitely times where, like, for example, some of the details, well, her and I would be having a conversation. We'll call it like a disagreeing on something, and at some point, one of us, let's just say, I'll stop and say, we're definitely not getting anywhere in this. So like an outwardly letting go could be, or even inwardly could be, first of all, I recognize that we're both, maybe for lack of a better way of saying it, just trying to be right instead of like explaining our perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying
I've definitely been there before.
Yeah. So just trying to be right. And then from realizing that, from how I was even like going about it, I sat back and like listened to myself as I was speaking, like, wait a minute, like from what space is this coming from? I'm definitely trying to be right. I'm definitely trying to be right here. I'm not even open to anything else right now.
Trying to be right instead of trying to listen and be heard.
Yeah. Yes.
Like that.
Like I'm not, and like when I'm trying to be right, I'm not even giving her the space to just be, which is what I would to be. Mm-hmm. However that manifests, that's probably number one for me. And at that moment, there was a letting go of, like, an outwardly letting go of, like, and the way it came out was, sweetie, we're just trying to be right. Like we're going in circles here, and even you can see it. Mm-hmm. We're not getting anywhere, and that's when, half of the last part of the walk might be just quiet, her and I just holding hands and walking, mm-hmm. like finishing the walk without saying anything, because nothing needs to be said.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And then somebody comes out and like says something maybe from a more inspired place, because you recognize the shit beforehand. So you even gave yourself the space to actually have something come, and that might be oh, yo, you remember when I said or when I did that? I see exactly what you're saying now. I'm sorry, something like that. Like, and I had to have a let go to even be able to recognize and be able to say, yo, we're not getting anywhere. And part of it is because I want to be right.
Maybe I'm just being combative today. Did you let it go, or did you take a step back? Because let it go would mean like, I'm done with this. Or did you go, okay, let me step out of this for a second, because I don't think we're getting anywhere. We can come back. I feel like let go is to cut yourself off.
I think there's a difference. Like, what the difference is, like, you're saying you're letting go of your pride or your stance, or
I'm letting go on that. I'm letting go on that hold of wanting to be right, of wanting to control the outcome, and how she said how she responded to what I was saying and was doing, like that. Mm-hmm. like I couldn't. There was nowhere for me to go, or to, I wasn't even allowing her to even change, or let's say even the control part of me that wants to control wants her to change. I wasn't even allowing her the space to change because I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even provide the space to do so. So I had to let go of that like need to just be right, because I wasn't even able to say what I really wanted to say.
Right.
You know, so letting go of that aspect.
That makes
sense. But I mean, there are also other moments where I was able to just let go of the situation, and if it came up again, then it came up, but I definitely was more fresh because of it. You know, that's real. Like, yeah, that's the best as I can say.
I got you. I realize now I didn't answer the question, and it's fine.
No, you should though. I feel like you should. It's fine, but you should.
I'll try to keep this as concise as possible. My relationship with failure.
It's you and your pros, man. Your pros are good. Your pros are so good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My relationship to failure it's inevitable. It's failure is literally Agent Smith holding you as Neo in front of that train going, it's inevitable. Like it's like it's literally nothing you can do about it. The worst thing you can do as far as failure is concerned, to me anyway, is not learn from it. Like it's always a thing of what was it? It's a lesson that I think was really demonstrated well in that movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They're like, when you win, you get the joy of feeling success. When you lose, you get the opportunity for like growth. But you don't learn anything from winning.
Yeah.
Which I do argue with that you do learn from winning. That shit worked. But for me, it's that thing of I'm not so much concerned with failing. I'm concerned with what am I going to do when it happens.
Yeah.
I care way more about the recovery than I do about the possibility, because that thing is unavoidable. It's almost like how I kind of look at death, where I'm like, it ain't shit I can do to really avoid it. It's gonna happen. So what I care more about is how the fuck I'm living, because there's nothing I can do about that part over there. But I can do everything in regards to what I got over here.
Well, yo, don't start the death conversation.
I'm not.
But I'm just 3 hours. I got questions.
I'm just saying like that. That's just how I process that. Is that I know I'm going to fuck up something. I'm going to fail at something, and I just hope that I don't fail that way again. I'm going to do whatever I can to not fail that way again. I'm probably going to fuck up that thing again, but I'm not going to fuck it up the same way.
It's like learning how to deal with rejection.
Ooh, that took a long time. but yeah, it is that thing.
You feel like when you fail at something, it's kind of like you feel rejected. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's similar.
Yeah, like
it's
that thing.
It's not the same.
I remember like an old piece of mine. It was the first one that the company I dance for right now is the first one they gave me an opportunity to make. And so I had all these like intentions and shit like that. I was like, you don't make a choir, but it's gonna be a choir of shadows. And like it was all this shit. And at the end of it, that piece sucked. It sucked so much. And they let me get to the end of it. They let me put it on stage. And it was not received well. And it was because they were like, he needs to feel this suck. So that he can, because this is where he is right now. He's gonna get better because he's gonna go, this sucks.
Man, they stole your idea.
Never do anything like this here.
How much of that is when people steal your idea and flip it how they tweak it a little bit, tweak it.
Let me tell you how I did have that. Like, anytime I saw like a choir after that do some show where they started their song in silhouette, I was like, they stealing my shit. But it was just that thing. And so you gotta go, okay, this wasn't it. And there's some things that aren't received well that you're like, but I know there's something there. There's something good in that thing. It was just the way it came out it wasn't the way that was going to be received well.
That's a good point. You change the audience
that it got, or the audience that it got presented to wasn't the audience that would have received it well. Because sometimes failure doesn't even necessarily mean that what you did was bad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It could just mean the timing, the circumstances, the environment, all those things that are contributions to something's or someone's success could just be wrong.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I put failure in the quotes in the
you know? So you put it in the group chat.
So get out there and fail more.
It's literally that thing that the only way you can fail is that you tried. And I know that sounds mad corny and cliche, but I'm like, you can't succeed at something that you didn't try to do. And if you tried, you're probably going to fail way more than you succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a thing of, if you're ever going to, it's that inevitable inverse theory. I don't even know if that's what that's called, but that's like what I'm calling it right now, where it's like, you don't have evil without good. You don't have bad without positive. You don't have negative without positive.
Like the yin and yang.
Yin and yang. Like you don't have one without the other. Is that probably what I should have just said instead of whatever that complicated ass term I made up?
Redefining
things. Changing history.
It's just that thing. And so I promise I'm not saying any of those things. Like, I don't find failure scary. I do, because when you invest into something, you're hoping that it's received well, and a failure does not feel good. And so there's fear associated with that, but I'm not deathly afraid of it to the point of not putting forth effort, because I failed too much to be scared of to be scared of putting forth effort. I've been rejected by too many people, environments, situations, women. Good God, like this. I know what failure feels like too much, too well, in order to be scared of it. And so, yeah, that's my personal perspective on it. It don't feel good, and it's not like I actively pursue it. I just find it to be an inevitability that's unavoidable. Yeah. And so you know,
it stings a little.
Yeah, it stings a little. It's literally that thing of like a boxer or a fighter knows how to get hit. Like a skater knows how to fall. A skater knows he's going to fall. He or she is going to fall at some point. And so you learn how to fall. Or you learn how to deal with the pain of falling. You learn how to deal with the pain of getting hit. Yeah, so you learn how to deal with this pain of failure. And then you go, okay, damn, that shit hurt. All right, tomorrow we got to try this shit again.
No doubt.
And so, yeah. That is my perspective, and I think that's where we're gonna wrap it today, gentlemen.
Like it.
Yeah.
Maybe treat that shit like spinach tortillas and wrap this shit up.
Wrap it up. Yo, the Dave Chappelle show. Wrap it up, son.
I think this might be the first time I forgot to do the spiel at the beginning, so we're definitely gonna do this shit now. If you enjoyed this, if you thank you for tuning in to another episode of the InforMILLy Honest Podcast. If you liked what we talked about, if you thought that the shit was dope, if you thought that we didn't explain shit well, if you're like, oh, I got a thought that I want to contribute to that, by all means, write us. You can write us by emailing us at informillyhonestpodcast@gmail.com. Adam is going to put the graphic around here somewhere. I'm going to point in like every direction because it's going to end up somewhere, and that way I'm not wrong, right? So you can write us at informillyhonestpodcast@gmail.com. You can, by all means, comment on any of our posts on Instagram or Facebook. That is InforMILLy Honest on Instagram. That is InforMILLy Honest Podcast on Facebook. And by all means, write us, DM us. You can hit any of us up. We should probably start including our personal IG accounts at some point. And so, do you know yours? Y'all know yours on top?
I think mine is Aaron.
See, that's where we go from. Yeah. We are doing this horribly wrong. Like,
yeah,
I think I know what it is.
Prepare for that moment.
Yo, check it out. Yo, hit me up at Aaron Thomas 93.
So you ain't gotta say it. We're gonna ask. We're gonna humbly ask Adam to include
it's right here.
Graphic.
It's right here. Yeah.
Include a graphic of our IG handles. And so, you can always hit us up personally if you don't want to write into the company page or stuff like that.
Don't just write about us in your journals.
Yo, I know that doesn't help anybody.
Chapters about us.
Don't. And by all means, I like I said on I think the last episode or 2 episodes ago, I love seeing that we're coming up in people's like private Facebook groups, but you can also write us to let us know how you feel, because I will gladly argue any of the points that I say. I think I stand on this ground. I talk shit a lot.
Persuade us different.
I know some people had. I know some family back in the G had some feelings about me saying that monogamy is a death trap, and so I don't reflect the thoughts of the InforMILLy podcast. I reflect the thoughts of Josh.
Yes, we talk about the issues, or I don't want to call them issues.
It was like, what are
we talk about the things that are put in front of us by ourselves, but of course we're going to say some interesting and have some interesting topics, so expect that.
We call it how we see it.
And probably because by the time this comes out it will be old news or something like that. I'll just go ahead and say these obligatory sentiments. Just because your news feed has gone back to normal does not mean that anything changed. Again, I'm expressing these thoughts to myself, and the gentleman can echo them if they so choose. The police deserve to have mad resources taken away from them and reallocated into better programs that can feed communities that they have ravaged for decades. Breonna Taylor's killers are still out on the loose. I don't fucking get why. And so protect black women, protect black women, protect black women. People who have these hypocritical ass feelings on WAP probably have not experienced the magic of wet ass pussy. And so if you have an issue with women being sexually empowered and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not saying this to be on some kind of fucking soapbox. I am not a feminist. I just believe that women deserve their just due. And so I say those differentiatingly because those ideals don't always match. And so I believe that women in general do deserve to get put on their pedestals. I believe they should be able to talk the shit how the fuck they want to talk their shit. Motherfuckers do it all the time. You cannot complain about WAP and then sing Slob on My Knob. It doesn't make sense. Your hypocrisy is showing.
Although sometimes I think the word empower is thrown around a little bit too loosely. But
how? What will be?
It's like here we
go.
Let me
get my second one. Let me get my second one.
Like you brought up Slob on My Knob. Like I didn't necessarily feel empowered by that. But like I said,
But we're not oppressed as men. Like we're not told to be ashamed of anything sexual in regards to ourselves.
I don't know if you think that barrier hasn't been broken, like in
no
already.
I'm saying music
for females and for female artists who want to talk dirty.
I'm saying sure it happens.
We've seen this before.
But I'm saying that just because female artists have been saying it for 3-4 decades does not mean that they don't still face public scrutiny.
I think
niggas don't face public scrutiny over that.
They are. I mean, they're facing it, but you still gotta call a spade if they're like saying, "Hey, well, this shit works." Like it might suck that I have to do this, but it works right
we need
now.
to have the attitude of the
that
trolls
part
out
is
here.
irrelevant to me.
The
I'm sorry.
the trolls
I
out
think they
here are
are.
so bold, man.
Huh?
We need to have the attitude, or they need to have the attitude of trolls. Like they're fearless. Like Takashi 6ix9ine, man, this dude bold.
Oh, but here's the thing. I think that Cardi and Meg are really affected by the shit? No, they gonna make their bag regardless. I know there's probably some like emotional cloud or something like that. I'm not emotional distress that may come with that, but I am purely saying for people to voice an opinion as if all of this shit doesn't exist is hypocritical.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Cause
and so go ahead.
Because I do hear a lot of people just if you think it's distasteful, then that's just an individual, thing. But we can't control. Like I guess is putting the highlight on what you said, like hypocrisy within within gender. So I mean, if you want to target that specific point, then I totally agree with you. But I just think that they didn't really. Whether I guess it don't really matter, but were they really trying to make a statement? I don't know. I mean, how much more of a statement can you make? This has been done many times. Like maybe for their career, maybe for the scope of their career, maybe it was time for them to make some type of statement. But
I'll put it like this in regards to what you just said. I'm a complete believer that my proudly living as is widely considered a racially black man, and for me as a metaphorical pursuit of blackness, aka completion and absolution. But to be proud and black is an active act is an I'm about to say active act, and that's redundant. I'm trying to find a better way to say that. Is a unapologetic act of defiance. It is literal protest to exist in that space. And so for a woman, especially as black and brown women, who by society standards are incredibly over sexualized, being able to own that for themselves, even if it is not their intention to make that a platform, by doing it, it is an act of empowerment.
Now you said that black and brown women are over sexualized.
Absolutely.
Explain.
we were really trying to wrap this up. I did not.
I mean, we. I mean, there's a lot of big statements and everything we saying. So
it is a thing of there's countless examples throughout our social history where little black girls and little brown girls get treated, and that's the same thing for men, get treated as adults because their bodies may develop faster, because the social eye, aka the white eye, looks at them as if they need to be treated with adult terms, right? Excuse me, as if they aren't still children. That's from jump. And then you take the imagery where you have all of these characteristics of black women that are demonized on black bodies, but praised on white or white passing bodies. It's literally a thing of as soon as white and white passing bodies get those black features, now all of a sudden it's praised on them when it's either demonized or called into being too much on black and brown bodies. And so it's a thing of everything, just about everything in the consideration toward black women especially is highly sexualized, regardless of whether or not they are being sexual.
I can see what you're saying, but I guess I'm finding it hard at this moment in time right now to. I think that all women are we as men in generally speaking, do over sexualize, just every passing moment in general. But I'm just trying to, think if at this point Black women are more sexualized than others.
And I'm sure as my girl listens to this and immediately gets angry, she's going to send me so many articles that I will forward.
I would like, forward them to me too.
I'll put them in the group chat.
Okay.
No,
it's not like I'm saying it's not.
No, I'm not saying angry at you. I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, it is. I guess it is a thing of perspective, and
for shit, isn't everything?
Yeah. But, and what we probably not arguing about anything of importance, but.
No, I mean, it's relatively important because this particular leg of conversation isn't always had by dudes, and to some degree, it's one of those things where, like, in the same way that I don't really care for a group of white people talking about their perspectives on racism, I'm sure that there are women who don't care about a group of dudes talking about their perspectives on the plight of women. And so
not in our group, so
and so
we gotta talk about like from how we
you can't tell us how to tell our they can't tell us how to tell our perspective.
It's not a thing of anybody telling anybody how to tell their perspective. It's a thing of I don't particularly care to listen to it. It's that thing of when I see a video of a little white girl arguing with her parents about why she cares about why Black people are being killed, and her parents going, well, and trying to make excuses for why they aren't investing time in it. I'm like, I don't care about this.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's just.
I guess it is worth mentioning that. Yeah. That we take our opinion with a grain of salt, since we are not the ones to experience.
It's not my plight. I'm slightly arguing for them, in which they're all capable to do so. But
I always like to hear every side. So
perspective. This is why on our next episode, I don't know this true, but eventually we're going to have some women on this podcast, and they're going to express their opinions and probably tell us to shut the fuck up. Who knows? But thank you for listening. I know we were probably supposed to end this 20 minutes ago, and Aaron's balls are in the shoulders right now with how high he's holding them. And so,
just like, man, there's only so the argument of like,
can't even
let's wait till the next episode.
All right. All right, we're mad informal because I know we said we're in this episode, and it's about the fourth time that we didn't on time. So if you want to write us at informallyyhonestpodcast@gmail.com. That's informallyyhonestpodcast@gmail.com. Inform.
Hit it with that Ray Charles.
honestpodcast@gmail.com. On Instagram, we're Informally Honest. On Facebook, Informally Honest Podcast. We are four brothers, only three on this episode. Coming to you live live and black and white. where we pride ourselves on having candid and challenging conversations rooted in three very important principles: being forthright, being vulnerable, and most of all, being honest.
We live.
Thanks, y'all.
Coming live. Just a few days later. Few day delay.
It's live-ish. We record live, but you're getting it like 2 weeks later.
This is not live.
Thanks for listening.
All right, much love, y'all. Peace.
Peace.